So today we have our usual weekly updates. As usual, there are a lot of updates. I could have made more if I had more time. Anyway, nothing changes about me. So first, Hugging Face Open LLM Leaderboard. There are some new players. The 01.ai model from China moved to the third place. And you see that there is another model which is Llama based, which is better. Well, not much better. They're all very close. And there is another Llama model which now took the first place. But this is 70 billion parameters, and this is 30. It's actually interesting. So here, look, 7 billion, 7 billion, 7 billion. These are all small models, but they get somewhere in the top of the leaderboard. So Mistral based green, Llama based are red, and there are some others, like for example Microsoft Orca. Microsoft original Orca paper was in June, but they didn't open source it back then. They just explained how they trained the model on traces of ChatGPT. So they were asking ChatGPT questions, getting the answers, and this gave me question-answer pairs. This kind of data set is called, well, traces, or it's also called instruct data set. And they used it to train their model with 13 billion parameters, and they shared the results, and the results were extremely good. So what open source community did, they recreated the approach. They created their own data set and started using it to train other models. So, for example, here we have Mistral fine-tuned with Orca, right? And so on, so on. Anyway, recently there was a lot of complaints saying that there was a leak of test data, these 7 tests which are used in the leaderboard, leaking these tests into the training data for the models. So this is basically cheating, right? And this allows models to rise in the leaderboard, so no trust to the leaderboard. And there's another approach, and this approach is called Elo Ranking. So this guy Elo, well, so he's a long time gone, but he is originally from Hungary. He lived in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. I think he was teaching math in Chicago, and he was also a chess master. I think he was Wisconsin champion, and he designed a method how you rank players in games where one wins, another loses, right? So it was used for chess, it was used for soccer, football, and so on. Statistical method, and here it is used for evaluating the large language models. So if you go to Hugging Face to this LMSys, so you see their ranking. And by the way, you see on the top is GPT-4 Turbo, GPT-4, Claude, and so on. So these are their models. This is how they rank. They battle them. They make like a tournament. They battle them against each other, and then they evaluate which goes on the top. So what you can do here, you can go the chatbot arena, and here you will have, you see, you can select 2 models and you can give them your questions, and then they give you the answers, and then you will select which one is better. So you decide who wins, and they accumulated more than 100,000 users voted. So a lot of statistical data. And here I took the top winners. So on the first places we have ChatGPT for ChatGPT for Turbo was recently released. Then GPT-4, then Claude, Claude Instant, GPT 3.5, and then goes Wizard LM. You see green. For myself, I do it green if it is Llama based. Vicuna is Llama-based, then again Llama-based. Zephyr is Mistral-based, and it's a small model. You see 7B, but still, if you look at the numbers, they're pretty close. So you have some small models which behave very well. Anyway, this is much more trustworthy, and you can just follow the link. This is a good YouTube video which talks about this and shows how to use it. Anyway, Inflection. I want to remind you about the company called Inflection.ai. And I was wondering why they call it inflection. And apparently it's from inflection point, right? So things are changing very fast. If you go to their website, you see those inflections, right? You see this animation. Oh, it follows my mouse. Interesting. I go right, it goes right. I go left, it goes left. Anyway, so they develop a personal intelligence model. They have more than $1 billion in investment. They built a very modern, powerful training data center. So it's definitely a company to know. And hopefully this slide helps you to remember the name of the company, Inflection. Progress. Okay, so about 1 million years ago, humans started using fire. About 6,000 years ago, the wheel was invented. About 150 years ago, plus minus, we started using electricity. So this is Tesla and Edison. About 70 years ago, again, plus minus, computers. And about 30 years ago, deep learning. So here we have Yann LeCun and Geoffrey Hinton and Joshua Bengio. And why I say 30 years ago, because 30-something years ago, Yann LeCun actually created network which was used in production in banks. It was the first convolutional network which was used to, I just realized, am I recording? I'm not sure. Yes.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, you do.
I am recording. Okay. Yes, it was used in banks to recognize handwritten digits on bank forms. Okay, so it was about 30 years ago, like 89, so about 34 years ago. And now we have path to AGI, which develops very, very fast. So we have transformers, which was 2017, right? So it's about 5 years ago. And then GPT, different versions, GPT-2, GPT-3, and this week was birthday of ChatGPT, as was released November 30th last year. And people project that another maybe 2-3 years and we'll have artificial general intelligence. We definitely, there's no question, no doubt that we'll be there. It's just the question is 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but we're almost there. Okay, so this is just, I wanted to put it together. It's interesting how things getting faster and faster and faster. Okay, some miscellaneous updates. Together.ai raised $100 million. It's very interesting. This is a cloud provider, but they allow you to run your large language models, and they do it very, very fast. And the way they do it, they use their own libraries to work with the hardware. So they fine-tune libraries to the hardware they're using. Like, for example, flash attention is one of the things which does it. It manages cache of the GPUs and CPUs and so on. So it's an interesting provider. So they promise speed and low cost. Together.ai, it's San Francisco, California. Amazon launches Q generative AI power assistant. So if you are using Amazon Web Services, AWS, and you have some question, you can ask the question. And by the way, it knows information about your account. So it can answer questions about your usage or whatever. GNoME, which is Graph Networks for Material Exploration. Everybody talks about it. This is coming from Google DeepMind. And what they have done, they generated recipes for a lot of crystals, which can be used in technology, like include battery and solar cell components and so on. So this probably is huge. OpenAI, well, you know, there was a scandal. Sam Altman was fired, then he returned. So he's back being CEO. Mira Murati back to being CTO. Greg Brockman is the president. They have a new board. Still, nobody knows what's happening with Ilya Zatskever. I mean, maybe Elon Musk will convince him to go to Tesla because they have really close relationship. And so Ilya will definitely survive and definitely will be paid very well. It's just a question like where he will land. Deep learning history. I really like this page. Jürgen Schmidhuber is a famous deep learning developer. He's one of the foundational godfathers of deep learning. He's from Europe. He created a school. He is famous for many things, probably mostly for LSTMs. But I highly recommend. He has some TED Talks on YouTube. He has fascinating way of thinking and describing things. And he put together this page of history of deep learning, starting from centuries ago. So you see Cauchy and Leibniz and Legendre and Gauss and so on. And we go, well, Rosenblatt, this is perceptron, the first neural networks, and so on. Oh, this is Ukraine, actually. Anyway, I highly recommend this page. And by the way, it has a lot of references. You see, there's huge amount of actual references and work. I highly recommend this page. ChatGPT Birthday already mentioned, November 30th. OpenAI custom GPTs have a security vulnerability, and it was shown that you can reproduce this vulnerability very easily. So, well, it was noticed. That means that they probably will close or already closed it. Pika or Pika generate videos, received funding. This is really a lot of fun, and just let's look at this. If you see this animation, do you see it? Right? Quite amazing. So this is also very good page with a lot of cool videos, which you can just go and look like what they do. So next, SDXL Turbo. Again, it's amazing thing because it produces images faster than you can type. And on their website, they have this demo where you have an image and the person is typing, you see, and then he's changing and the image changing in real time. Again, quite amazing what the systems can do, how fast they work now. AI talent hiring wars. Well, they're saying that median salary is somewhere around 900,000 per year. Well, maybe, I don't know, but they're really fighting for top research talent. Yann LeCun, I really like this short video. It's a Twitter post where he explains why at the end of the day, AGI must be open source. It cannot belong and it should not belong to any company or any government. And that's why it's so important to make data sets public and models also make public open source. Tools to run models locally. So there's GPT for all, MLC, LLM. I spoke about them. LM Studio. LM Studio is not open source, but these two are open source. DeepLearning.AI released new course for RAG. Well, you know, DeepLearning.AI, that is, what's his name? Andrew Ng. Yeah, he's a famous Stanford professor and creator of Coursera, and he's coming with a very good short and free courses, which I highly recommend. So this is about RAG. CICERO from Meta, AI agent to play at human level in diplomacy strategy game that requires building trust and so on. Again, interesting development. Efficient dataset distillation via minimax diffusion. Very good work. Again, how you make good datasets. There is a lot of work now to create synthetic datasets to make them smaller, but at the same time more efficient and safe and not biased and so on. So there is like the whole industry about creating datasets. Microsoft Gorilla, this is not new. This was in summer, in April, but I just want to reiterate because Gorilla is actually a very good model and it was trained using reinforcement learning. And the reason why I include here, because for reinforcement learning, there is a lot of push now to start using reinforcement learning along with autoregression modeling to make models not just as parrots manipulating strings, but actually understanding what they're doing. So Gorilla is Microsoft and Berkeley, and you see the gorilla.cs.berkeley.edu. Okay, Casetext, yes, interesting company. They recently were acquired for $650 million, and it started as a crowdsourced law library. And yeah, so this is a good system which allows you to do legal research, find cases and so on, and they use standard technologies, large language models, Python, LangChain, and so on. Intuit now adds AI to all its services, starting with TurboTax, TurboTax Online, the Spanish language translations everywhere. So it's all using AI. So now we have AI empowered accounting and tax services. This is very interesting article. So what they do, they take a model which runs, does inference at speed of 25 tokens per second, and they increase the speed tenfold to 250 tokens per second. This is just blazing fast, like, and it prints the response. Amazing. And they achieve it using pure PyTorch. They use a feature called PyTorch compile. They also downsample it, and they use something called speculative decoding. So this article I recommend if you're interested in making your inference faster. People talk about using reinforcement learning and making a parallel with how AlphaGo was trained. I want to remind you, AlphaGo is an algorithm from DeepMind who won against humans and who became much better than humans. And it couldn't do it by just learning from how humans play this game. It actually became better because it was playing against its own clone. So there were two networks which were playing against each other. So now people say that if we want to create AGI, if we want to create a smart model, it has to learn from another smart model to so-called, like, so to speak, play against its own clone. And that's probably the direction where things are going, because as models become bigger and they require more data to train them, they're already out of data. So now there's a big industry of creating synthetic data. But when you create synthetic data, if original model had bias or had like something wrong with, then this synthetic data will have the same bias, which is not good. Anyway, so I just wanted to tell about this parallel. Another interesting model called Starling-7B, it's coming from Berkeley. And again, Gorilla also coming from Berkeley. So it's an OpenLLM trained by RLAIF, which is reinforcement learning from AI feedback. And it performs better than Claude and GPT-3-4. It only, it just about, it's only behind GPT-4. So it's amazing because the model is small, 7 billion parameters.
Subsil?
Dima.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. And this is absolutely amazing. So we have 7B model, which wins against huge, powerful models. So it's very interesting. I highly recommend you to look at it. And maybe this is, Dima, maybe this is what we should be using, this Starling-7B. Oh, yeah, this is funny. This is AI character. So this is artificial woman. It doesn't actually exist, but they use it, and you can find it, and they use this face, whatever, like artificial celebrity, to advertise things, and they make $11,000 per month. And they don't hide that it is artificial creature, but nobody cares. Like people pay them for advertisement, and they're making money. So it's like artificial AI influencer. Q star. So there's a lot of conversations about Q star. So first of all, what is it? So the name is rumored breakthrough in artificial intelligence research by OpenAI. The exact nature is not known. It's maybe a combination of using Q-learning and A-star search together to finding and returning correct answers. So you have space of possible answers, and you need to find the path, the correct answer. A-star search algorithm is not new. Like it was known for a long time, like when building mobile robot, it could plan its own actions, right? Designed for finding least cost paths when the cost of the path is sum of its costs. You can look Wikipedia articles. It's a pretty standard thing. We're all using GPS when you're driving, and there is some algorithm which calculates you the shortest path, right? So this is kind of similar, but Q star is how to do it not on the map, but in the space of possible answers in your knowledge space. And the Q probably comes from Q learning. So I want to talk about some terminology here. So we have RL, which is reinforcement learning, or it's also called good puppy learning. So this is how you train a dog, right? You reward positively for good actions and negatively for bad actions. Policy is a function that takes current state S from the state space as input and returns the action A, right? So as your model is being trained for every state, it trains the function. Well, it can be deterministic or stochastic. And there are two types of models, on policy and off policy. So on policy is using the same approach when you learning and when you acting, right? There is always a question of exploitation of what you already know versus exploration in hopes to find like better paths. And then there is off-policy learning. And off-policy learning, agent learns from the experience of a different policy or policies, multiple policies. So the most notable example of policy learning is the Q-learning algorithm, where the agent learns the optimal policy regardless of the actions taken during the exploration. So what's the difference between Q and policy? Well, policy is function itself, whereas Q is just the value which is used by the policy, right? I mean, they're close to each other. They sometimes used like interchangeably. There is a slight difference. But anyway, so Q-learning is a very, very standard algorithm to find a path in your, let's say, computer game to select the decision, the action, right? And it looks like that's probably Q-star algorithm. It's learning using reinforcement learning to find the correct answer, right? So in conjunction with your large language model. Well, there are some links here. There are some YouTube videos talking about it. There are recent works about, for example, Q transformer from Google DeepMind, scalable offline reinforcement learning where autoregressive Q functions. This is the recent paper called A-star search paper, which introduces Q-star. I don't know if people, when they say the word Q-star, is it the same as in this Q-star algorithm from OpenAI? I'm not sure. This video, actually, at this time, it talks about Q-star, and this is actually from OpenAI 2016. Anyway, nobody knows exactly what it is, but the big picture is probably very clear. Using reinforcement learning to help large language models to become smarter. Okay, LEDITS++. This is great project. So look at the top here. In the middle, we have a guy in its original state, and here we decrease smile, and here we increase smile, right? Here we have Yann LeCun original plus George Clooney plus sunglasses. We have George Clooney. And here add Harry Potter. We have Harry Potter. Here original, here we plus sunglasses. Here we remove crowd. Here we remove glasses. Here we minus cat plus parrot. Minus tennis ball plus tomato, plus volcano eruption, plus oil painting, plus tree, and so on. So it's amazing editor. So these people from Germany, they also work with Adobe. So this is a new development, a very powerful graphical editor, right, for images. Graph RAG. So we spoke multiple times about retrieval augmented generation, and in its standard form, it uses a vector database, or maybe a regular, like a SQL database, relational database. But it's also possible to use what's called graph database. So below, I show different types of data storage. You have relational, you have key value, you have white column, or you have like hierarchical, right? And you have graph. Graph actually is the most universal. It can be used in any of these forms or in more complex forms. And there are benefits of using graph database because it gives you a relationship with between different pieces of data, right? It's very, very flexible, and it allows you to get better accuracy, better relevance, a better understanding of relationships, increased flexibility, and that means that as you add more data, it can be more easily accommodated. So it looks like it's a perfect solution, and it's a perfect system to be used for RAG, for retrieval. So here are some links, some article, and there is a good video coming from Facebook. And Facebook people, they're using something called FACE, which is called the Facebook AI Similarity Search. It's a library, it's a framework in C++, which they use internally. So maybe instead of using some standard vector database, better to follow Facebook and see how this works. At least they say that it works very well for them. The research agent. This is very interesting work. We spoke multiple times that standard RAG retrieval is not good, but if you ask more questions and if you do extra filtering and re-ranking, you'll get better answers and remove hallucinations. So here people created the system, and actually they provide GitHub with the code which does it. So the research agent is a big improvement over all the previous approaches. It yields more detailed and accurate answers. I've been playing with a few weeks now, and I'm surprised by the richness of the answers I get. The agent avoids the problem of hallucinations to a greater extent than any previous approach. It auto-corrects the hallucinations and the factual errors it generates in the first few iterations during later ones. The deeper it gets into problem, the more accurately it yields the result. So very interesting work, and it's provided with this code which you can use right away. And yeah, this is definitely something we all should look into. Candle. So Rust is becoming more and more popular, and Rust was used for machine learning. And here we have GitHub with Rust code to run everything. Like here, for example, it's running Llama, and here Mistral. So yeah, and you see Cargo, Run, example, Mistral, whatever. So you can use Rust instead of Python, instead of PyTorch. This is something. This I think is very powerful. Anyway, how to test model for bias, safety, how to create a responsible model. There's a lot of information. I provide just 3 links here, but it's done multiple times. Everybody in corporate world interested in doing this, and there are jobs just to do this kind of stuff. Another thing is GPU water cooling. We were looking into this a little bit. It's expensive and difficult, but beautiful and does the job. Anyway, this is the end of it. I'll stop the recording.